Times front page for Thursday, June 23rd, 2022. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. President Biden has announced a plan to reduce gas prices that relies on just about everybody besides the White House to do something about it. Ramsey Touchberry and Joseph Clark report the president is calling for Congress to pass a 3-month suspension of the 18.4 cent per gallon federal gas tax and the 24 cents a gallon federal tax on diesel. He's also urging states to pause their gas taxes, many of which are higher than the federal rate, as well as asking the oil industry to lower its profits while increasing supply and refining capacity. The proposal met swift blowback from members of the president's own party, with House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee Chairman Peter DeFazio calling it well-intentioned but ill-conceived, and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi previously characterized a gas tax holiday as a public relations stunt. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell told the House Oversight and Reform Committee he holds no authority to remove embattled Washington Commanders owner Dan Snyder and can't discipline him for not cooperating with the committee. Sports reporter Matt Paris reports committee chairwoman Carolyn Maloney said she intends on subpoenaing Snyder after he has dodged 2 requests to appear. Goodell, who testified remotely, said Snyder could face additional punishment from the league, though, depending on the outcome of multiple investigations into him and how he's running his franchise. The committee accuses Snyder of conducting a shadow investigation during the NFL's investigation of the Commanders' workplace misconduct in an attempt to discredit his accusers. More than 40 women have said they experienced or witnessed sexual harassment while working for the Commanders. A backlog at the IRS has grown worse over the past year, and millions of tax returns filed on paper this year have yet to be touched by the agency. Stephen Dinan reports National Taxpayer Advocate Aaron Collins said tax filers could be waiting up to 10 months to get refunds. As of late last month, the agency was sitting on a pile of 21.3 million unprocessed paper tax returns, with at least 10.5 million of them filed by individual taxpayers. Collins said both numbers were worse than at the same point last year. The IRS has pumped resources into the situation and expects to clear the final batch of last year's returns this week. Collins says the agency will then turn its attention to the forms filed in this year's tax season, which have yet to be looked at. You can read all of these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. You can also find our entire lineup of Washington Times podcasts at WashingtonTimes.com/podcasts. Today is the 50th anniversary of Title IX, the landmark anti-discrimination law that helps pave the way for millions of girls and women to compete in sports. Title IX of the Education Amendments prohibits discrimination based on sex in scholastic programs that receive federal funding. Valerie Richardson reports the law is still undergoing interpretation and potential expansion today that would affect transgender athletes. The Biden administration has moved to add sexual orientation and gender identity to official definitions of sex, overriding the Trump administration's efforts to limit Title IX's scope to biological sex. And finally, Mayra Flores' win in a special election for the seat vacated by Texas Democratic Congressman Filemon Vela is being seen as a harbinger as Republicans try to retake the House this fall. Last November, Tom Howe reports New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy's closer-than-expected re-election win raised eyebrows, along with Republican New Jersey State Senator Edward Durr's win over the then Senate president in the Garden State. Months into the job, Durr said his constituents are concerned about high consumer costs, a major topic that will continue to frame local and national races this year. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in your favorite podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at WashTimes for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.